Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 26th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Already a thunderstorm ongoing there across the Olympic Peninsula. It's since died out a bit there, but don't be surprised if you hear a rumble of thunder or two with some of this early morning convection riding up across the area. But then we should clear out for most areas. We're going to warm things up. We're going to destabilize things. And again, with our low pressure center right there, this is going to bring another round of much stronger storms up across western Oregon, Washington, BC, eastern portions as well. We'll go over all those details here as we go through the video this morning. Game is on here, folks. Taking a look at right now visible satellite imagery, and you can see the clearing behind this upper level, mid-level convection here moving up and across the area. Don't be surprised to hear a couple of rumbles of thunder there, but this is just the appetizer. This is not the main show. Then we warm up a bit behind that, and we start the afternoon and the evening shenanigans here across the region. Now, if you guys want to help support the channel, go to the Patreon page. I'm going to be doing all my updates that I normally do on X or on Blue Sky. I will be doing those on Patreon, and I'll try to set up a chat, maybe a Discord chat eventually as well, so I can jump in there from time to time and answer some questions. But yeah, if you want to support the channel, go there. I'll leave the link down below. Kind of a fun hail size chart here. Since our rare chance at some big hail here across the Pacific Northwest, most people are not going to see this big hail, but once you get 1-inch hail, you start damaging stuff. You can break windshields, you can damage siding, you can kill livestock when you get up over 1.5 and 2 inches and whatnot out there as well. So you want to take those things into consideration. I'll show you some of the areas that are at risk starting here in a moment. But the biggest upgrade into the early morning hours here, we've got the 5% tornado, the first ever issued here for Western Washington, Western Oregon. Very unprecedented, but this is still a very conditional threat for tornadic activity. And I'm going to show you what to look for here if you are worried about tornadoes here, because this is probably a little bit worse than its bark is a little bit worse than its bite here, but I will show you there is going to be some potential for it. So hang with me as we go through the video. And if we look at probability of severe hail, the hatched area, 10% chance or greater of significant hail in this hatched area, and that could be 2 inches or more. Just a very unique storm prediction center prediction here for the region. That does include the Seattle Metro, Tacoma, Eclipse, Olympia. There's Portland and Salem there as well, just off to the east of Eugene. So I'll show you more on that here in a moment. Now, lightning strikes over the last 24 hours. Looks like that's been the sole thunderstorm, the lone one right there, but we've got a lot more to come as we go through the day today. Here we are, apparent temperature as we speak. This is about 8:45, and you can see we're a little chilly right now, but we are going to be warming up today, and some records are going to fall for portions east of the mountains as well. And this is what it's going to look like here, according to the European as of last night. This kind of hinges on just how much we clear out today, which will also hinge on how much we destabilize the atmosphere. So if you are a storm chaser, you want to see things clear out behind this morning convection and bring some sunshine across the region as we go through the day today and bring these temperatures up, because that will help power some of these thunderstorms. And of course, if you want to avoid that stuff, you want these clouds to hang around more and keep the atmosphere more stable. Now, it has not updated here for the National Weather Service Seattle, but again, that 5% has been issued. But yeah, the National Weather Service offices definitely are talking about this. This is Portland, and they're talking about it as well. They got great area forecast discussions going on. Medford talking about some of the sneaker wave activity. Keep that in the back of your mind if you're on the coastal areas. But you can see some windy conditions for southwest Oregon. And again, the thunderstorm activity this afternoon is going to fire up across southwest Oregon. First things first. Yeah, so that's where it's going to go. You can kind of see the severe comes all the way down towards Roseburg. The slight risk and the marginal risk goes all the way down towards Grants Pass and does include Medford, Oregon. So yeah, good stuff here from the National Weather Service, Medford. This is also good to keep in the back of your mind here. So this is Pendleton National Weather Service. These storms, again, forming across southwest Oregon first, will be moving north. So you'll be able to look at your Doppler radar and kind of see this activity moving north, and you'll be able to kind of see when it should be coming into your area. So when you see these across Oregon, you know eastern Washington, you are downstream of that, and you are going to be next. So you can kind of time that out. But yeah, bend right there, 2 to 5. This is this afternoon here, going through this evening. So heads up, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. Not quite as strong probably here as western portions, which is very unusual. But yeah, the severe potential does exist. Record temperatures Wednesday as well. Look at Spokane. Might even set a monthly record high. Ritzville might do the same and definitely going to shatter some records as we go through the day today. Look at this at Lewiston. I mean, my goodness, forecast high temperature of 83. The daily record high is 71, and it's probably going to shatter the monthly record high temperature as well, set back in 1923. And Spokane is talking about it also. You can see they got their nice graphics out there as usual. So Storm Prediction Center here, again, the 5%, I was a bit surprised to see that, but nonetheless, there it is. I mean, exceptionally rare across the region. I think it's the first time ever, in fact. And they do mention that some tornado risk will exist. And this is what I've been talking about the last couple of days. I tried to explain this a little bit here in the live stream last night as well, where low-level winds maintain at least some kind of easterly component. And I would argue that it's probably, even if it was calm winds at the surface, you still be able to get some kind of terrain interaction where you could get some tornadic activity. But generally speaking, you want some southerly or southeasterly or easterly component to the wind here. And I'll show you the boundary where that is likely to set up. But they do mention the big hail as well. And of course, there's going to be dangerous lightning. There's potential for some flash flooding even also. So upper levels of the atmosphere, 18,000 feet. What is driving all of this? That is our trough off the coastline. Their strong defluence aloft is going to be going on, which in turn causes the response, the convergence at the surface, warm, moist air mass back up across the region. Just very unusual, unheard of, unprecedented for this time of year. A lot of lightning incoming here, folks. And in fact, let me back up on that because I do want to show you that we're probably going to remain active here as we go through the end of this week. And we're probably not going to be done with the thunderstorm threat as well, but nothing as robust as what we're looking at today. And then you can see the troughing hanging on through portions of next week as well, upper level low, pretty close by here. So maybe March going out like a lion. Now, accumulated max updraft helicity. This HRRR is hot off the press as the 15Z run. I want to kind of show you the hit and miss nature of some of the potential, for example, of some of the hail. So you can see maybe some of the bigger stones will be falling in some of this activity here. You can see hit and miss. Not everybody is going to see big hail, but you can kind of see why they have that hatched area here. And it may be underdoing some of the storms forming up across portions of western Oregon here as well. So yeah, and an interesting look at things there. You can kind of see it moving up across southwest Washington and towards Pierce and King County as we go through the night tonight. And if we look at surface-based CAPE, you'll notice how this builds today. And then once these westerlies, once you start getting strong southwesterly or westerly winds, your tornado threat is almost certainly gone because it's going to be cutting through this CAPE as we go through tonight. So once you go through this afternoon and evening, if you start getting gusty winds across southwest Washington, your tornado threat is done. Once those westerlies just come ripping across some of the I-5 corridor there in western Oregon, your tornado threat is done. But there's going to be this boundary here, and you can kind of see it in the CAPE where there's the potential we could get some tornadic activity. And how will these big updrafts with some of this extreme CAPE interact with our terrain features? Is it going to try to, create its own low-level wind shear and whatnot? It's kind of unprecedented, so we don't exactly know how it's going to interact with some of these terrain features here. It can cause some crazy things to happen. So if we take a look at the North American model as of this morning, you see as we go through the morning hours, you can kind of see that easterly component ongoing as we go through the day today. You see it across southwest Washington right there, the easterly component across the Willamette Valley. So it depends on when these storms fire and if there's still some of that easterly component across, for example, western Oregon first. That's what the storms are going to fire first. But notice this boundary quickly drop off a bit farther to the east. So you're off in the foothills here and getting towards the Cascades. So that tornado threat is probably going to be really quick here across western Oregon. Then the westerlies start coming in there as well. But then you're going to be dealing with the boundary kind of hung up here across western Washington also. And you can kind of see the easterly component right there. Now, some of these storms get along that boundary there, especially later on into the period. As we go through 5, 6 p.m., still that chance across some of Pierce County and King County for maybe some of those easterlies to be present. And that's where the boundary would be setting up. And that's where we're looking for some of that tornado potential, maybe. So I think the 5%, it might be overdone a little bit here, but I don't want to just totally disregard it as well. But yeah, that's likely where that tornado activity would be across that boundary. If the boundary hangs on a little bit longer here and you still have some of these easterlies ongoing when these storms are riding up, that would be the danger zone for some of this tornadic potential. So let's take a look at what the Doppler radar is probably going to look like here, or close to it over today. So this is the early morning convection stuff there, kind of in between what the NAM and the HRRR are showing here on the right. So this moves up, then we get some clearing behind that. We warm up, and you see the storm starting again across some of southwest Oregon. And some of these are going to be producing extreme amounts of lightning. They're very prolific lightning producers as these move up across western Oregon, western Washington, maybe a couple rounds of it. Here we go to about 6 p.m., 7 p.m. You can see this encroaching on Olympia, Tacoma, coming towards Seattle. And yeah, you can see some of this stuff right here. Some of these cells, supercellular structures here embedded in some of this activity. If that boundary is there, or if it's interacting with some terrain, would not be surprised to see a tornado report or two with some of this activity. And you can kind of see how the NAM and the HRRR agree on the area of these storms as we go through this evening. Moves up across Tacoma, Seattle, Gig Harbor, Bremerton. You know, a lot of lightning is going to be associated with this. All the way up across some of the island counties, Everett, and probably all the way up into British Columbia. I mean, look at this on the HRRR. That would be some widespread lightning activity ongoing at about 10 p.m. right there. And then eventually those thunderstorms moving out by the time we go towards tonight. And searching along that boundary here, it's not hard to find tornado soundings here. You see the low-level curvature there, and what we're looking at here is a profile, 39,000 feet, at about 200 millibar line there, and there we are at the surface in just huge, fat Cape profile. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when this is interacting with the terrain. These robust, low-level mesocyclones here, if they develop and the supercellular structures come across some of the terrain features, you could get some interesting stuff ongoing there, and maybe again some of that tornado potential. So that was the North American model there. I looked, some of the RAP soundings were also supporting some of this tornadic activity. And again, man, yeah, some funny things can happen with our terrain features here, so you just don't want to completely rule it out. And again, just the huge Cape, the stretching, the lift, the mesocyclone there could be doing its own thing a little bit at the surface there. So you could get some brief tornado action. And there's another one from the North American model as well. So let's take a look at the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh. Let's do the hot off the presses one here. And again, some of that early morning convection coming up across the area, and then you see some of the stuff start to blossom across Oregon. It wants to keep things a little bit further to the east, but the North American model has been a little bit more generous with keeping some of that across western Oregon. But look at this overshooting tops across southwest Washington, moving up towards Seattle. Again, very prolific lightning producing storms as we go through tonight. So kind of a fun look at the simulated infrared satellite imagery there. And since we're here, let's just go ahead and do the North American model, and we will go back a little bit here. And you can see some of these would be producing lightning pretty quickly there, but then they kind of move up. Almost looks like a mesoscale convective system moving up across Pacific Northwest, and also some of these thunderstorms moving up across eastern Washington as well. Now, looking at the cross section here, this is us warming up today, and then you can kind of see as these westerlies roll in, the colder air aloft starts rolling in here as well. We start to really cool down as we go through the upcoming week here as well. So we're going to put an end to this warm weather, and it's the severe thunderstorm threat after tonight. It will be no more. Now, avalanche.org, we still have considerable out there across a lot of the Cascades, down through Mount Hood. There's still some high across the North Cascades. So heads up, check before you go. You click on these individual locations, gives you all kinds of great stuff. Here's the 6 to 10 day. You can see kind of the mixed bag here in the Pacific Northwest, above normal precipitation. 8 to 14 day there, and 8 to 14 day West Coast continues to be wet. So I may be live streaming at times today. I have not yet decided where I'm going to be chasing. I'm either going to target one of these boundaries here across Pierce and King County and see where the Cape is going to be the greatest and see how these storms develop during the day and maybe chase that tornado threat there. Otherwise, I'm probably going to go out towards maybe somewhere in Seattle and try to get some landscape shots and some lightning hitting maybe the Space Needle or some of the TV towers out there as well. So haven't quite decided on that. just yet. Depends on how this starts to go through the day today. But yeah, you can kind of see our cinnamon bun off the coastline there, spinning some of these storms up. So if you're a storm chaser, you want to see it clear out a bit here today so you can destabilize the atmosphere. And of course, if you're like most people and you don't want to see severe weather, you're hoping these clouds hang out a bit longer than normal as we go through the day today and keep some of those temperatures suppressed, which would turn keep some of that thunderstorm activity to a minimum as we go through the day today. So yeah, there's still ways that this could underperform here, but it's looking pretty high confidence right now of at least a pretty good lightning show here across much of the region with some heavy rain and some gusty winds. Are we going to see the giant hail or a couple of tornado reports here? That becomes much more of a conditional question here, but the big hail could be a pretty good threat here. We got some pretty fat Cape profiles showing up here across the region. So anyway, I'm going to put this to an end now here. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, I'll probably be live streaming at some point tonight, or maybe I'll do another video. Who knows if I decide to sit at home. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again later on today, and I'll talk to you guys then.